Okay, I think we're live. Um, yeah, so it's Thursday, the 13th of May, and
August. Close enough.
close enough. Yeah, I kind of wrote this when it was still May, I guess. And this is the first time I screwed up the intro to the show, so that's good. Welcome to Emacs Hangout, everyone. The topics today will be, well, today I didn't think about anything, so whatever we feel like talking about. Thank you all for coming, and let's quickly do a round of introduction. My name is Phil, and I'm from Switzerland. Sasha, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Sasha. I'm based in Toronto.
All right.
You want to start calling names?
Yeah, Paul. Paul is not here yet. Bora, where are you from?
Hello, I'm Bora from Turkey.
From Turkey. Cool. And Magnus is still muted, so let's go with Paul next as soon as he's back on the line. So, Paul, do you want to do a quick introduction? Who you are and...
Sorry, I'm just still munching my brownie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay.
1 second.
No worries.
Okay, we're good to go. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm Paul. I'm living in Cambodia. I used to work for the UN, and I was working at the court out here, and I decided to take a couple of years off, and a little bit like the semi-retirement that Sasha is doing, and I've been working on a distance education Master of Arts in War Studies from King's College London.
Oh,
so basically,
great.
I get to have a really cheap lifestyle in Cambodia, living with my mother-in-law, while getting a degree from a good international university.
And doing lots of Emacs.
Well, I'm kind of a beginner with Emacs, but I have been writing papers and stuff in it now. I've got around to working out how the bibtex work and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I became very interested in the reproducible research part of Emacs after seeing there was an Emacs talk about it, Emacs and reproducible research. I'd have to Google it and see if I can find it here.
Fantastic.
A new window. But yeah, that's what brought me into Emacs. I know one other Emacs user in Cambodia. He's a system administrator. But other than that, I think most people here are Vim people.
I know, right?
Or Notepad.
Or Notepad, yeah, sure. Okay, hello, John. Welcome to the Hangout. So, do you want to do a quick introduction? Who you are, where you're from?
My name's John. I live in Sacramento, California now. I've been an Emacs user for a long time.
Ooh.
You moved.
Hey, hello. Yes, I moved. I was in San Francisco last night, which is cool that I can just drive there.
Nice.
And you'll be on a flight during the Emacs conference. How unfortunate. You're right there in the neighborhood.
I was planning to be there for that conference, but I'll be headed to Vancouver.
Oh,
Your
wow.
country, gotcha.
That's cool.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Magnus, I think you're still muted. If this is intentional, then...
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hi, hi. Do you want to do a quick introduction as well?
Yeah, sure. My name is Magnus. I live in London in the UK, and I like to hack a little Jabber client in Emacs.
Ooh. Okay, cool. So, as I said, I didn't get to prepare any specific topics for today. So, if anybody has anything especially interesting to talk about, like your Jabber client maybe, then pipe up and we'll get started on that. And else we can do a quick brainstorming to find out what we would like to find out or talk about.
Sounds good.
Well, I guess one thing I want to mention is that apparently that Emacs conference thing is happening in person on August 29 in San Francisco. So if you want to go look at emacsconf.org, I think, or search for it, then you'll find information about that. And I'm working with organizers to see if we can get some kind of live stream going on at the same time, because that would be super cool. If not, at the very least, I think there will be recordings afterwards.
Okay, cool. Yeah, please make a live stream happening.
Is there a way to share links on the Google Plus? This is the first time I've been using these
there's
Hangouts.
there's a text chat. If you hover on the left side,
Mm-hmm.
Hover the left. Oh yeah, and the little text chatty window type of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
you mentioned you were getting into reproducible research. So how far along are you there? And is there anything where you're getting stuck?
Well, I must have been just writing the conventional sort of Master of Arts type papers, but I've been reading a lot of stuff. Have you ever heard of the dart throwing chimp?
No.
He's doing a lot of stuff with R. Let me Google him quickly. And actually, first I'll just give you the link to Evan. I think his name is Evan Masula. He did a very good talk on reproducible research using org mode, and that's one of the things that got me into it. Oops. And it's his webcast is on the page there, and there's the dart throwing chimp. And he's starting to do a lot of stuff with R. He's got quite a few sort of analysis. He analyzes, whether a country is likely to have a coup and all that type of stuff. So he's a big data guy.
That's really cool.
It does sound interesting, yeah. So R is the statistics language, right? Is that right?
Correct, yeah. I still haven't committed fully whether I'm going to go with R or with Python. Both of them look interesting. I might have a play with both and then see which one suits. Python's as good as a generic language, I think. You can use it almost everywhere, whereas R is more purely statistics. I think there's good points and bad points to both from what I've played around with.
So a friend of mine had to write an application server for an R web application once because somebody was stupid enough to write the web application in R, and he he took the Christmas holidays off and just sat down for 2 weeks and kind of tried to make that happen, and I think he was successful, but I don't think he liked it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes, using the wrong tool for the job. It can work out badly.
Unless it's Emacs.
That's quite adaptable, yeah.
So there's an Emacs window manager for the X server now, which is, I'm not sure that's what we needed necessarily, but it's interesting. I mean, it was sort of inevitable, I suppose. But yeah, so I mean, we have one in Haskell, Xmonad, and now I think it's called Emacs VM, Emacs WM, or something like that. Did anybody have a look at that yet?
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh. I know people have been trying to control their window managers from Emacs for ages, right? Because once you get into having your keyboard shortcuts and your functions, you want to be able to do other things with it. So having Emacs actually do all the window management itself, I mean, it kind of makes sense too.
It just seems like it's kind of a heavy binary to sort of run the whole X session off of, basically.
Well, you know what people are always trying to do, right? We're trying to replace init.
Yeah. Oh, the first the first Emacs binary adapted to run as the init system is going to win the system D wars, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So we're joined by Mond, I think.
Yeah, my name is Felix. I guess I'm doing a quick introduction now.
That would be cool.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I live in Hamburg and I study computational informatics. Yeah, and I picked Emacs up like half a year ago during my internship. Yeah, I worked together with some colleagues on the topic of system engineering. So we maintain Linux servers mainly. So yeah, I've been dealing with Emacs, and yeah, actually, I've also been struggling with Tramp. It's a pretty neat tool, but it's kind of hard to set up on Windows. I used Cygwin. I tried to use different stuff from different Emacs configs. It's always useful, and yeah, it's still not quite working. But I guess I will just increase the verbose level on Tramp, and then try to figure out how it works. So yeah,
What's that tool? Tram?
Tramp. Yeah, it's
Tramp. Okay, I see.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, I use Windows 2 because yeah, I've been having problems using Tramp from Windows.
So what's the how are you using Emacs? How did you set up Emacs now? With
I started from within Cygwin to have that Cygwin environment, and I used Cygwin 2 to install OpenSSH.
I see.
Yeah. It gets really messy. A lot of things on
Yeah.
Windows are not so much fun. What I find sometimes is it's easier to just run a virtual machine using Vagrant or whatever tool you have for stuff like this. Like I was having problems with GNU's also not being happy with OpenSSL from Cygwin. So that's one approach you can try, where you actually have a Linux VM so you can have all of your proper toys. If you want a graphical Emacs, you can still use an X server like Xming to kind of you SSH into your VM, you tunnel the X out, and then you can have your graphical Emacs.
That's actually really cool. Yeah.
Which I do sometimes because it's really annoying to do it, on Windows. And I guess maybe the other thing you can try is see if whether P-Link and the other putty tools if people have gotten them working with Tramp. So that might be another approach.
All right, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, the virtual machine solution, of course. Yeah, I should probably try that. It seems pretty obvious.
I mean, like for a lot of tools, like rsync gets really confused with Windows systems and all that stuff. It's just much easier to have a Linux system.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
And then the nice thing about Vagrant is it makes it very easy to set up the shared folders and bring virtual machines up and down. So that's definitely something worth looking into.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we don't use Vagrant at work, but I will definitely try it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, another thing you might run into with this entire, again, Windows Linux thing, Magit is very slow on Windows because Git is slow on Windows.
Yeah.
So again, another point for Linux.
Alright, yeah, I've been using Magit, but I didn't have any problems with it.
Yeah, larger repositories. Yes.
Then you don't have a big repository.
Okay.
At work, it's horrible. I mean, I already have a slow computer, but when I dual booted Linux off it once, it was like 10 times faster on a repository that was maybe 200 megabytes or something. It's ridiculous.
Okay, what? That's insane. Okay.
I know.
It's really crazy. So the problem is that in Windows, Git can't really take advantage of hard links very well, because hard links are sort of an annoying concept in Windows. They exist, but they don't really work the same way. So it has to start copying stuff around, which is annoying and slow. And on Linux, it just goes hard link everything, and then ta-da!
Okay. is this actually good style, or I don't know, the state of the art to do links in GitHub repository or in Git repositories? Yeah, because I figured it was pretty hard to use links in
Oh.
Git repositories.
I don't mean that you have links in your repository. I mean that when you have the whole the .git folder, it has a bunch of so-called binary large objects blobs in it, and when you check out a commit from the archives of your Git repository, it then just has to hard link certain things to the right place. And on Windows, it has to actually copy them out, like SVN would do or something. Well, no, SVN is different again. But yeah, it's just the internal machinations of Git are very dependent on hard links, and that's not possible on Windows. So you're kind of screwed.
Okay, now I get it, kind of. Okay. That makes
Basically,
sense.
Windows slow and painful. Linux, okay, here we go. Worth the
And-
time to set up a VM.
And Mac is fine as well, I hear.
I finally, I haven't used like GNUs and Windows for a while, but I remember fighting with it so much until I eventually found the combination of a forwarding SMTP server that really just, it takes a message, it sends it off to Gmail, and and just getting all of that stuff set up was a real headache.
So what's GNUs? That's the mail and
It's one of the many mail and
Yeah,
news readers in Emacs.
Mm-hmm. I recently set up Mutt because uh,
Does anyone else
I'm
here
actually-
have the deal? Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
using the MU4E,
very
the other
nice.
email program, which I'm finding it pretty good. And it was a little bit complex for me to set up, because I've set up one account which would be Rise Up email, one is the Gmail, and one is my university email. And I finally got them all working yesterday.
Are you using offline IMAP or does it have a?
Yeah, I was using offline IMAP.
So because I've been setting up offline IMAP as well, I actually want to quickly look up a link that I wanted to post for anyone else that has to deal with this. It's an article by Steve Losh, and he's an
It's
avid.
the MUT one. Yeah.
Yeah, the homely mutt. So he's an avid Vim user, but I think we can forgive him for a good offline IMAP the tutorial or whatever. It's a good overview of kind of the sort of data flow that's involved in a command line email setup, sort of.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
But I mean, yeah. That's what you use. Oh, I like PhD comics.
The quote at the bottom is quite good. I might post that, but it describes Emacs very well.
Ah, yes. Every program attempts to expand until it can read email. Those programs which cannot so expand are replaced by ones which can. Law of software envelopment, Jamie Savinsky. Oh well. Yeah, it's kind of true though. I mean, the more and more software that I see cropping up in sort of the Linux ecosystem seem to be super scriptable, like GNOME Shell or the Plasma desktop or something. And I mean, as soon as you have JavaScript in an environment, you can basically do whatever you want. So, not sure that's good.
Are you using MUT with org mode? There's some
No,
integration that's being done.
not yet. No, I just finished setting it up at all because I got so fed up with like Evolution, Kmail, Thunderbird, and all the friends, because they
Yeah.
sometimes just silently fail to fetch mail, which annoys me to no end. So I just at some point I kind of gave up and went, well, I need something where I can control the process better. So offline IMAP it is, and the rest I then kind of cobbled together from there. So I can see someone else has joined, Roglio. You wanna give a quick introduction? Oh yeah, you're still muted, I think. Maybe later. Yeah, so yeah, email and Emacs. I haven't really married those together. Who else is using Emacs for email?
I've been using GNUs since forever.
Okay.
I really, really like that. I've actually tried to break myself of the habit, so I switched to Apple Mail for a few years, but when I came back to GNUs, it was like breathing in real air.
All right. So
I've heard good things about Not Much as well, being like really fast at indexing things. So
yeah,
I've been having a little play with Not Much as well. I like the way it searches. You know, it seems to it's even better searching than MU4E. My trouble with the Not Much is I haven't figured out how I can email with 3 different accounts and ensure that the email comes from the right account. When I've tried setting it up, it ended up everything seems to come from my Gmail.
But
whereas with the MU4E, I've managed to get everything working, and including I can do encryption as well and everything.
but isn't Not Much just the indexing part?
Correct. Yeah, you need to use what is it? MSMTP
Yeah.
RC. Oh, that's the.
Oh. MSMTP is the mailer, the SMTP client.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
that set up as well. Yeah. But I mean,
If I was just using Gmail, it's pretty straightforward. But I've not been able to get it working properly with multiple accounts the way I want it to. So
I see. Okay.
I've managed to get MU4E to work properly so that if I'm on my King's College account, the email goes from there.
Oh, okay. I see. Now I understand the problem.
Yeah. So I'm playing around with it. I haven't completely committed to one or the other, but they both use offline IMAP, which is quite handy. And,
So
I'm pretty impressed with them.
In the end, I mean, you can use any sendmail replacement you want. So maybe have a look at some others that maybe do your problem better, I guess.
The biggest the thing I really impressed with Not Much, the searching seemed a lot more intuitive. It really
Okay.
even more so than MU4E. But maybe I'm still learning it.
Yeah, that's fine. So my copy of Mutt is compiled with not much support, but I haven't really enabled any of it yet. There's like a patch set somewhere floating around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what else is new?
I'm wondering how many of us are beginners and how many have been using the Emacs quite a while. Am I the one out beginner, or
No,
everybody else has been using
I'm a
it for a while?
total beginner.
Okay.
I'm a beginner too.
I always feel like a beginner. There's so much. I've been using it for a while, but yeah, there's always something surprising and new. I haven't even started looking at the new release of org mode.
Zen mind, beginner's mind.
Yeah.
I think I started using Emacs 26 years ago.
Wow.
In
I was
89.
barely alive then.
Yeah, version 18.50 was a big deal back then.
18.50. There
Yeah.
hasn't been much development in the realm of version numbers since then, huh?
Well, we're up to 24. That's a big deal.
Yeah, but I mean 26 years.
Yes, yeah. Good point.
Not that we're going to engage in version number inflation here.
Well, I mean the browsers are doing it all of them. It's
That's
ridiculous.
true.
But it's interesting that both Emacs and VI, or Vim, both started in 1976.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
I was reading an article on it today in Slate. Let's see if I can pull it up. But they both started the same year.
That's interesting.
Oldest rivalry in computing.
So, Roglio also just started with Emacs. I mean, I've been using it for a while, but I kind of I feel like I haven't progressed much. So, actually, a topic that I wanted to talk about for a while, unless there's something else you want to talk about, is how to organize your init file. I've seen a few approaches, and it seems like a good topic to talk about because I don't think there's a definite answer. I mean, those are always boring conversations in the end. But kind of, what are the pros and cons of the different approaches, and why do you use the approach that you're using? John, do you have a very special setup? You laughed about it.
Well, I was wondering if you saw the screencast that Sacha and I did.
No, I haven't gotten around to that yet. Did
So
you
one of our videos that you can see is exactly on that topic.
Oh, I see. Well, okay.
We can recap the discussion
Oh, yeah.
very quickly.
It never hurts to repeat that discussion.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to elaborate on how you do it or what you think about it.
Well, I have a macro I wrote called usePackage, and that lets me modularize my configuration bits and all details related to getting a package to load. And also makes it very easy to say, I only want this package on these systems, or if such and such is available in my environment, or if I want to play with a package, I can very easily disable it, sort of with just flipping a switch. And that allows me to have a repeatable environment across all my machines just by rsyncing my entire .emacs.d. So I've been very happy with that for a few years now, and it leads to an extremely fast startup time because it's optimized towards speed. It's a macro that just turns into what you would have written in the ideal case if you were doing package management that way.
Yeah.
And I really like that idea, but I'm also really bad at implementing it properly in my config. So I think my config is optimized for laziness and takes a little time to load up because I basically load everything. So it's kind of like two ends of the spectrum here for using usePackage. But I really like how it organizes my config, yeah.
I actually also use usePackage. It seems to be the be-all, end-all of of organizing it in kind of into hierarchical.
You get tired of writing proper eval after loads and trying to remember how to code things, I guess. It works, but that's one approach. And certainly there's also the lots of small files versus one massive file approach, and whether that file is in org mode or not.
That's actually the part that I'm almost the most interested in. Kind of what the pros are of putting it in an org mode file. I haven't quite figured out why you would want to do that, to be honest.
I do it because I like publishing my config, and it kind of feels nicer when there's like links and a table of contents, and I can search through things easily. And since org can translate that into a straight Emacs Lisp file anyway, I don't lose anything except maybe like a little time when I save it and it compiles. I just find it really handy to have my to-dos and some links and some, sometimes even tables in there as well.
Yeah, somebody put a whole blog in there, I think.
I do that sometimes. You start writing this blog post that describes how this little bit of configuration works, and it's so useful to just have that kind of explanation right there in your config. But it would be very hard to read if it were just comments.
No, I meant one of the Planet Emacs contributors
Oh yeah.
actually put his whole blog in his is init.org, I think. He actually, I think he reached 1 year a few weeks ago or a month ago, and he actually
Yeah, I
wrote a
think I
blog.
saw that post. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's and parentheses maybe, I don't know. If I could remember names.
Yeah, endless parentheses, I think.
Ah,
This
yes.
is
Yeah.
And that's by the way, wha- actually there was an insult somebody directed at me once when I was writing kind of prose. I sort of I parenthesized everything because I was kind of elaborating in all directions, and somebody was like, "Are you an Emacs user or do you write Lisp?" And I was like, "What? I don't understand."
this happens.
Because
You make a parenthetical comment, and then you want to make another parenthetical comment
exactly, yeah,
inside it.
exactly. And I didn't even know about that. I had no idea about Emacs or Lisp or anything. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And then they were like, yeah, because in Lisp you only use parentheses, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that was an insult, I suppose.
I mean, if people can't deal with 2 levels of like depth, that's their problem.
Yep, I agree with that.
And imagine if you like, you know how in math you can use different brackets, right? You might use parentheses, and then you can use curly brackets and whatever. If we had to deal with all that syntax, messy.
Yeah, it's so unorganized, right?
I'm one of the
Anyway, okay.
I'm one of the cheaters. I just used one of the starter kits. I was using the Eric Schultes
Oh yeah.
Emacs Starter 224, and literally last night I've switched over to Prelude, Mr. Batsov's Prelude, and I'm finding that pretty good. I was getting all kinds of weird error messages, probably caused by something I did, but I could never work it out. And now I've redone it with the Batsov's thing, and it's working perfectly for me now. And the key things that I need to work, I have to make sure my LaTeX and my bibliography work, and I can produce documents. So as long as I can do that and I can do my email, I'm pretty good. So I'm not really a programmer per se at this stage. Maybe later.
Yeah, I cheat as well, actually. I use Spacemacs. It's getting a bit stormy. Hold on a second.
That's
Okay,
cool.
should be fine.
Are you Space Max on the dark side or on the light side?
Wouldn't you like to know? I have years of Vim muscle memory, and I'm not gonna give it up so quickly. So I'm very much a rebel, I think, or whichever it is.
I think I think Space Max is a really good thing.
Yeah,
I had to play with it a couple of days ago as well, but
I'm
yeah,
unhappy with the.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am a bit unhappy with the startup time, so my long-term plan is still to convert it all. Just find out what I need from it on the Hangouts. But I kind of plan to get away from it, but I just haven't been able to use Emacs that much because I was so swamped at work and at uni. So yeah, haven't gotten around to it. But it's lovely to try out new things, because if you want to just find, like, bring in something that you don't know how it works yet, you just write a new package and it's super easy and everything. And it won't break. It won't break easily. I've noticed that. I usually break stuff easily, but I haven't managed, so that's good.
Cool.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I think I'm sorry. I need to quickly deal with this. Hold on.
How's Toronto, Satya?
Good. Nice and sunny for once, so it's still a little bit cool. They say they're expecting an early winter.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, we have pretty hot temperatures here at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine California and that drought too, eh?
Yeah, very dry. My lawn died.
Oh no. Uh, well, that's okay. There's a lot of stuff happening there.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see. Like one of the nice things about these hangouts is getting that sense of people from all over, right? And
Mhm.
it's hard. Like I think I know a handful of other Emacs geeks in Toronto, but it'll be really difficult to get a regular hangout, a regular meetup going.
What are you talking
Yeah, I
about?
can do.
Physical meetups.
Okay.
Actually, now that is there one in San Francisco that meets up around Emacs or?
I don't know.
No? Wow.
Could be. I just don't know about it.
Yeah. Well, this is why these virtual meetups are fun because you can actually talk to and hang out with other people who get this entire Emacs thing. Thanks, Philip, for hosting this one.
No problem. So it's winning so strongly that I had to retract my my sunscreen thing. My
Oh, yeah.
my landlord would shout at me else if it breaks.
For sure. Yeah. So
Yeah,
next you need to like hook up an Arduino and then get that sorted out with the meta-x command. So
Yeah, no. It's not motorized, unfortunately.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually really excited to talk to some Emacs users too because, as I said, I'm learning Emacs for a half year now, and I've been introduced to it from my coworker. So like for half a year, I've been already talking to him about Emacs, and I mean it's great. He knows a lot of the stuff, but yeah, for example, I picked up a lot already in this talk, like the Emacs mail links, they're pretty awesome. Yeah, and I actually have a question. So I find myself sometimes to be in Emacs mode, kind of. I have all these keystrokes, these key commands in my head. And at work, for example, we use Microsoft Outlook for mail. And then I work in Emacs. I switched to Outlook, and without I can't stop myself from pressing these key commands. And Outlook just does something crazy, and oh my god, I hope I haven't just deleted all of my mail. And
Well, it's
yeah,
Outlook, so.
I've actually also found and the same thing happens to me everywhere. Like when I switch to browsing, I know there's an Emacs browser and it can display images, so that's pretty cool. But for now, I think I'll stick to Firefox. And I've actually found a plugin for Emacs shortcuts. But yeah, I think this accidentally clicking keystrokes in other programs outside of the Emacs, it should be something that doesn't only happen to me. So how do you guys deal with that? Do you just, I don't know, focus or just bring everything inside Emacs, make that Emacs browser, make that Emacs mail program? Yeah, how do you deal with that? Do you think just everything should come inside Emacs such that you don't run into these mistakes? Or I don't know, what's your approach?
So I can tell a quick story about this actually. I recently talked to a friend of mine who is doing his PhD in neuroscience or something neuroinformatics or something like that. He actually said that once he's done with his PhD, which will be in October or November, he's going to learn a new keyboard layout. and I asked him what he planned to learn, whether he plans to learn Colmac or Dvorak or Workman, and he said he's been considering this very carefully because he wants to learn something that is as different from QWERTY as possible. Because, well, no, there's a very specific reason behind that, and that is that apparently it's much easier to separate two kind of modes of thinking, like keyboard layouts, for example. Once you, if they are completely separate, which is which is apparently a known theory or a known something for in neuroscience, and so I actually, when you said that, I actually thought about whether I do that often, like type different things in different programs, and I noticed that I don't because my muscle memory is still in Vim mode mostly, and that is so different from like Emacs and Outlook and all the kind of chord-based like with Control and Alt and Enter and whatever, that I seem to have no problem separating the two. But I would assume that once you go from Emacs to Outlook, you kind of screw that up a bit because it's sort of the same concept, but not as advanced, right? So that that sounded kind of funny to me. What do other experienced Emacs users think about that? Is it just a matter of experience? Exercise or training?
Yeah, in time, your brain will be able to context switch pretty immediately, no matter what the differences are.
Okay, that gives hope.
Well, it might take up to a few years, so I'm not saying it's fast, but
like 26.
God damn it.
right, like I type in Dvorak, and so for a long time it was very hard for me to approach another keyboard and type in QWERTY. Well, in the beginning, it was okay if they were completely different machines, if they physically felt different, because then, like he said, my brain would context switch. And as time went on, I could context switch more and more and more virtually, basically based on decision. And so nowadays, I can have a VM on my same machine and be typing QWERTY in the VM and Dvorak outside on the main machine, and there's no confusion whatsoever. But it took about 5 years to get the neuroplasticity to make that kind of context switching happen instantly without effort.
That's impressive.
That is very.
So, but I think the human brain is pretty amazing, and you just give it enough time, and it'll figure out what you need it to do.
The non-recommended way to also address this would be to switch Emacs to use keyboard shortcuts that other applications use, using something like Kua mode or whatever. But then you miss out on a lot of these little, subtle things that people do with their key bindings that make it that all makes sense. Anyway, it's an option.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a quick thing. So Daniel also joined us. Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
All right. Hi. My name's Daniel. An Emacs user for, I think it's going to be around 9 months, I think.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So waiting for that year to come back. Oops.
Where are you from?
Yeah. I'm from California, United States.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and earlier before I was joining, I heard something about Emacs in San Francisco. So there is a meetup group in San Francisco, and that's about Emacs. And also, where I'm from, in the Monterey Bay, I created an Emacs meetup too. So I mean, it's only 2 of us, but it's a start. So, yeah,
John Weekly over there has moved to your time zone and your neighborhood, so you have no excuse not to get your podcast up and running.
yeah. I'm still working on that one. Yeah, so that's basically my introduction, I guess.
Cool. Sorry, I interrupted another discussion. Were there any more points on the whole neuroplasticity discussion?
Yeah. Yeah, deal with Emacs keyboard weirdness because it makes your brain better.
Pretty much.
Exactly, yeah.
I sort of see what you were saying about the if it's a physically different keyboard that your brain switches faster. Like if you switch from a normal Windows keyboard to a Mac keyboard, for example, a couple of times you'd mess up, and then you suddenly realize, oh yeah, this is a Mac, and then you switch to Mac mode. So
Right.
I guess if you're,
It's
I
similar to
sometimes
speaking.
have to use a Mac.
If you're multilingual, you'll find that the setting will help you context switch languages too.
Yeah. But I guess in the case where you're like same language, same keyboard, different applications, there are some like system-wide applications. Emacs apparently, long time ago. Don't know if it's still active.
Oh yeah, Emacs.
Emacs. There's things that are hard to phonetically distinguish. Anyway, there are other apps written by Emacs geeks who wanted their keyboard shortcuts across everything. So some Googling might turn those up.
That's a cool proposition, yeah. So, any of the other kind of newer or shorter Emacs users or newer Emacs users, do you have any topics of that you're struggling with right now, or because I know I usually do, I just haven't had time lately.
One of my weird things that I get is trying to use Emacs to edit a system file, because it seems when I start it up, it goes into a GUI instead of into, even when I, instead of, like, for example, what is it, crontab-e? That should be like, before I tried to adjust it, it was nano, and I could adjust, I could edit it fairly easily. But then when I tried to switch my default editor to Emacs for doing that, it starts, but it doesn't go to the file. It just pops up into the GUI version of Emacs. I think it might be something I need to put it in a server mode or something like that. Is that right? I know there's the Emacs NW.
I think there's a command line switch.
I'm a little unsure how the best way to do it.
Did you set your visual environment variable? Or your editor environment variable?
I tried doing that, the editor variable, so maybe it's the visual.
What did you set it to? Yeah,
Emacs.
First.
I tried Emacs and I tried Emacs NW.
Yeah.
I tried Emacs client. I tried Emacs snapshot. I pretty much tried everything. So I'll figure it out. I believe I need to be running the server, though, to do that. Is that right? Emacs server?
If you're using Emacs client, yes.
Yeah. So you need to... What's the best way to start the server? Is it best to start it when you start the physical Emacs, or should you start it, especially on a Debian-type system or an Ubuntu system, do you start it when you're booting up, booting the actual computer?
I think it makes the most sense to put it in your X session if you're always starting X, because if you're booting it up during if you start it up during boot, you either have to run it as root or you have to decide at that point which users it will always run as. So it probably makes the most sense to kind of include it into, I don't know, GNOME AutoStart or KDE AutoStart or whatever you're using in the end. You can do this via the .desktop files in .config/autostart, I believe. And if you craft if you write the script and then you make a .desktop file, which are trivial to make. It's not hard. You can put this into the AutoStart folder, and it will be auto-started by all desktop environments. That's kind of a common folder for all desktop environments. And if you then want it to not auto-start anymore, you can either take it out, or there's actually a small setting in the .desktop files where you can say, like, auto start equals no or something like that, or you can even specify that on certain desktop environments it will start and on others it won't. Stuff like that. It's quite
Okay.
useful. The other thing is that you could use systemd user sessions if you're into systemd hacking stuff. That's neat, but I haven't really played around with it. It's possible certainly, but I don't know how.
Okay, I'll have a look around for that auto start stuff. It gives me a place to start Googling from.
Yeah. And for the whole terminal thing, to make sure that, for example, cron tab edit mode actually starts the right version of your stuff, I would just write a small wrapper script that makes sure that it adds the right, like the -nw command line option to your command, because it's not really worth it to do anything else. Just force it to do the right thing. Everything else is just unnecessary hassle.
Okay.
Good luck with that, though.
It's how you learn, by breaking things and fixing them again.
Exactly. It's the only way to learn.
Yeah, I just want to ask something. Hello?
Yeah?
About the startup of Emacs. I think it's common for new users. I'm collecting init configurations from first for Emacs users, especially I saw a lot of from such as configuration. But it takes longer to start Emacs. It takes quite much time. How can you speed up the startup of
How
Are you
to,
talking about using org to organize your config?
init files? I mean,
Yeah.
that Emacs, it takes a quite long time to initialize.
One way to work around that is, instead of doing the org tangle file or org babel load file as part of your init EL, especially if you're in a system where the modification time isn't accurately looked at, or isn't actually accurately reported, is instead load the .el file instead. And what you can do is you can just org babel tangle file when you make a change to your config to produce the EL version. So I use org babel load file because I load my Emacs, once a day basically, and I just leave it open the entire time. But if you need to get your startup faster, then consider using org babel to compile it first, essentially, to convert it from org to EL, and then just load the EL.
okay.
Does that sort of answer your question?
Yes, I will deal with it.
Okay.
Cool.
By the way, talking about leaving Emacs open, what do you guys use to save your sessions? I use desktop save mode to save the files I've been working on, but I figure there are other possibilities. I don't really see the difference. I don't know. What are you guys using for saving sessions or saving files you open?
Actually, I haven't been worrying about session management, because the files that I often return to, I can jump to using registers. So I set up in my config like shortcuts to the files that I access the most often, and I just open them whenever I need to. And then as for project files, I've been using Projectile for, once I open one file from the project, or I switch to the project using Projectile, then it's very easy to open any file in that project.
Oh, okay. I guess learning Projectile will be my next project.
Yeah,
It's pretty handy.
yeah, it is very handy, that's true.
Especially with something like Helm, so that when you're completing, right, you can just type in bits of the file name and it will show you the list. So Helm and IDEO are both completion packages that, if you don't have one or the other already set up, I strongly recommend that you check them out.
Yeah, I use Hand Mini. My
Yeah.
coworker recommended it, and it's so cool. I use it all the time. It's very handy. You're right. Yeah.
What's the other one you mentioned, Sasha?
Some people find a Helm more heavyweight. It's a bit more intrusive. So I do is an alternative. Actually, I think it came
Ah,
first that people also really like.
I do, right, yeah. So SpaceMax uses kind of per default sort of a mixture of the two, which I find a bit annoying. It's a bit hard to context switch all the time. So that's certainly something that I'm going to throw out once I get around to kind of extract all the stuff I need from it. Um, the Hydra package. How many of you use that and write their own Hydra?
I've used Hydra just for when I'm using Java. Since I use Eclim, so Eclim has a bunch of key bindings that I'm too lazy to memorize, so I just made a Hydra of the most frequent ones I use.
Very cool. Did you publish that anywhere?
Uh, the the config file, yeah, it's in my GitHub. I can link it if you
Can
like.
you put a link in the chat?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Because yeah, Eclim is something that I looked into and I got scared off because too many key bindings.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Anyone else? Any other cool uses? Okay, so I've been writing a lot of JavaScript for work lately, and at work I use Sublime Text for that because at work I haven't really managed to set up Eclipse on Windows because Windows sucks. But we know that already. I mean, for Emacs anyway. Not and there's this plugin for a suite called Turn.js, and it seems nice, but it keeps kind of locking up on me. So Sublime just completely freezes forever, and I haven't really been able to debug it. Is there a good Emacs plugin for to integrate this with Emacs? Does anybody have any experience with something like that?
Yeah, there's Emacs support for Turn. I think I've gotten it working. Yeah, it works for me on Windows, so
Hmm.
it should be much easier for you to get working on your system,
Okay.
or even on your Windows system.
Hmm.
It so it does the usual completion things.
Okay. Okay. Another thing that I've been actually quite impressed with, and I don't know whether there's, well, I'm sure there's something similar, but Sublime has a surprisingly sort of symbol search, Control R or Control Shift R. With Control Shift R, you can well, incorrect, and it seems to do so language agnostically to a certain degree, and it's surprisingly good at it. Does anybody know what this is based on, and whether there's something similarly lightweight for Emacs?
I missed the audio for a bit of that.
Uh,
Would you mind restating the question? It was a bit choppy.
Sure. Um, Maybe I should close the window. So on Sublime Text, it seems to have a fairly competent symbol search, whether that's for a file, Control R, or for the whole project, Control Shift R. It finds classes and function definitions very competently and extremely quickly, much more quickly than Turn manages to do. And it seems to also do that language agnostically, so I'm assuming it uses either some LLVM integration or some syntax magic. And I was wondering whether somebody knew what Sublime uses for that, and whether there's a similarly lightweight and quick mode Emacs plugin module for that.
Seems like the sort of thing Turn might do as well, but let me check.
Yes, but Turn is JavaScript, and I was wondering whether there's something that I could sort of language agnostically use. It doesn't do a lot either. It's really just basically when it sees the function definition, it just lists it as well. So also I think also inline functions and stuff. So it's not very clever, but it's really quick.
I'm looking up this function called eval go to definition, which sounds like it might be the thing.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Paul, did you post a link? Ah, yeah, that. Oh, cool. What's that about exactly?
Yeah, it's a course this guy named Kurt Schweier did on research tools. It's not just Emacs. There's also Python and a bit of R and stuff and GIS. And I found he's got several videos on YouTube, which are there, or you can download the videos as MP3s, I think. And it's very clear how to video tutorials on how to use Emacs as a beginner, and also the entire course you can download using Mercurial, and you get and all the course stuff is in org files, and it's in Creative Commons format. So if somebody ever needed to do something like make a university course on how to do some basic research tools programming, it's all done for you, where you can adapt it. Yeah, it's the videos are it's worth going to Kurt Schweier's YouTube channel and having a look at some of his Emacs stuff.
That's really cool. So what's GIS, if I may ask?
Geographic Information Systems.
Oh,
so like
cool.
QGIS and ArcGIS, but he teaches mainly QGIS because it's open source, obviously. He wanted to. The philosophy of his course is that you should be able to do all your stuff in the open source stuff, because you can take that wherever you go in university. Whereas if you learn just one proprietary tool at university, you can't take that anywhere. Which I thought the first episode was quite a good. I liked his philosophy, basically.
Cool.
So going back to your source code navigation thing, control right square bracket seems to be a Vim key binding for jumping to the definition of something. And the Stack Exchange post that I linked to has some workarounds for getting it to call whatever the mode has defined as meta dot, which usually is like either find based on the tags file or whatever find by definition thing is. So the tags file, exuberancy tags or other tools like that might be your not really language agnostic, but it has a support for a lot of languages in it for finding definitions.
Well, I mean, maybe language agnostic was the wrong word, but yeah, exactly. I think I should probably set up C tags properly at some point, and then.
I would recommend GNU Global.
Oh yeah.
It's much better than C tags.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
GNU Global.
Yes, it's faster. It covers more languages than C tags can do, especially if you install pigments, and it allows bidirectional navigation.
Oh. Okay.
So it can fully replace C-scope if you remember that tool.
No, I don't, but cool.
So I use it for all the languages I program in, and it works extremely well.
Nice. Okay, I'll have a look at that. I'll quickly post a link in the chat for anyone else that's interested. Cool. And do you also have to sort of build the index first, and then you can search in it?
You build the index first, and then you can incrementally update the index.
Oh, that's very cool.
So if you search around, you'll find, well, there's an excellent Emacs interface called, let me see what it's called. GG tags. You want to use GG tags as your Emacs interface, and then if you search the internet, there are ways to hook your save hook so that it will incrementally update the GNU global database every time you modify a file.
Nice.
Cool. So how does one find GG tags?
You actually, John, you demonstrated it in the Emacs development tips episode, I think. So let me post that. Oh, actually, no, we don't have that yet. Something. Let me see if I can dig up a. We don't have a demo of it yet. Okay, all right. Sorry, I thought you demoed it at some point.
Maybe in the world to come we have.
Yeah. That was it. That was the.
Hasn't materialized yet.
Yeah, that was the one that we were trying to reschedule, and then life happened. So
Right.
haven't gotten around to it yet.
Let's see where GG tags mode is.
I found it. I'll post it.
It's on Elpa, yeah.
There you go. Magnus seems to keep dropping out. Cool. Okay, I'll certainly look into that because yeah, it's been invaluable. It's such a spaghetti code base that I really need that quick source code navigation. It's basically 3,000 lines of just functions with no objects in JavaScript, which is such fun. Well, I mean, no classes, well, no prototypes anyway. Oh well.
It happens. I guess with JavaScript, it's very easy to just write one function at a time, and just you keep building things. A lot of my code looks like that. It's terrible, but I know.
Yeah, somehow it just kind of aggregated more and more functionality, and then at some point suddenly it was, hey Phil, you need to fix these bugs, and I'm like, what is this code even? I don't know.
Maybe you'll find a refactoring tool that you like.
Yeah. Does Turn do any refactoring?
I don't know.
Oh well. So, just as a quick aside on JavaScript, underscore.js is the most amazing collection of functional programming tools for JavaScript. It's so good. I recommend anyone look at it if they have to do JavaScript at all. It fixes all the kind of filter and map and find and whatever that JavaScript has built in, and it makes them better. Such better.
Speaking of JavaScript, one of the neat little tools that I picked up and played with before was skewer mode, which lets you kind of intercept a page that you're viewing in your browser, and then you can interact with it from your Emacs, so you can send JavaScript to it, which is kind of really nice for very quickly iterating through things, trying things out.
That sounds interesting. Skewer mode.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've also used it to experiment with CSS since sometimes normally I would play around with CSS in inspect element, but sometimes you want to actually remember all the changes you've made.
Yeah.
So it also does HTML and CSS injection.
Nice.
There's a demo video. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I post the link in the chat for posterity. All right. Is there anything else?
A couple of other things that I found very useful for dealing with JavaScript. If I'm sometimes I deal with snippets a lot because I work with this social business platform thing where you can put in bits of HTML and JavaScript and CSS. So it's been very helpful for me to have a key binding that widens the region, copies everything, maybe wraps script tags around it, and then makes it ready to paste. And things that you can use the normal expand region type things to still select the function, copy it over, that sort of stuff. It makes JavaScript a little easier to work with.
So is there a general expand region function in Emacs?
I think it's a package.
Oh, okay. Because that's something that I took from what's it called? I think IntelliJ or something. Just the idea IDs. They have this kind of this command that everybody seems to use. I think it's Control D or something, and it just widens it. It widens the region like scope by scope, and then it's super useful. It's very very neat.
That's a good excuse for a Hydra there, because you can just keep repeating a key.
How? Okay. Can you elaborate? How is that? How is Hydra useful for that?
So one of the nice things about Hydra is it allows you to define key maps that have keyboard shortcuts that you can keep repeating without having to do the entire keyboard shortcut to get there in the first
Oh.
place. So if you had some nice keyboard shortcut that expanded the region, of course, ideally you would bind it to a single keystroke. But if you needed to,
Now I
if
get
you
it.
ran out
Okay.
of key bindings, you
Mhm.
can use a Hydra to just keep expanding it as you typed.
It's a bit like I think Control X plus, I believe.
Yeah, like the way that repeats.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I have a question about eLisp. So yesterday I went to a closure meetup, and I thought it was pretty cool. And one of the things they talked about was about private and public variables and all that. So I don't know that much eLisp, so that got me wondering: does eLisp have anything such as private or public, or is it just naming standards or conventions that define them as public or private, and whether some variables should be used or left alone? So,
The latter.
about that.
There's
It's
only
actually-
one namespace.
It's actually been kind of handy sometimes to monkey around in other people's variables. So
Get out of my variables.
but yeah.
All right. So I guess that answers my question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's inside a let, right? If it's scoped that way, then you can't really mess around with it from the outside.
Okay.
But if you're talking about a variable that, like in a package with defvar or def custom, then that's all up for grabs.
Okay. All right. Sweet.
I like monkey patching.
Well, in general, it's nice when you can just override a little bit. Sometimes I feel very embarrassed when I have to basically copy the definition of the function just to change something. It
Yeah.
just means that the function is too long. Or it has some long functions.
Have you guys heard of Exorcism.io for coding or
No.
no? So basically, from what I know about it, Exorcism.io is basically, I think it's recent. Basically, it has a bunch of language tracks that you can, submit it gives you questions, you submit the answers, and then it rates you. And basically, people can talk amongst themselves about what the answer and which one would be better and how would you approach it. And basically, they have an E-list track, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll find it right now and post it in the link. I just thought that was pretty awesome. So yeah. Oh, you post the link? All right, sweet. But I was just curious if anybody has tried it. I haven't tried it yet.
No, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, another way to practice E-list. So yeah.
Yeah. Or anything else.
Yeah, that's true.
It is so nice to see Emacs list being listed there. So
Yeah. Languages. Lisp. Nice.
nice. And since you're looking to closure, you can also do the foreclosure exercises from within Emacs.
All right.
They have a sense of humor, by the way. Let me share my screen real quick. Screen share. Yeah. So you decided to install Emacs on Windows, and then this picture.
Oh yeah.
Very good. Zelda humor.
Yeah, I have another question for you guys. So
Go ahead.
it's currently my task to implement a ticket system at work, and it's just one. It's called a request tracker. It's written in Perl, and I was planning on creating a Perl function that exports tickets to org mode, just for to be able to stay in Emacs. How do you deal with ticket systems? Because I know Emacs users like to stay in the environment. Or do you just use an arbitrary ticket system and work with it with a browser?
Sorry, did you decide which ticket system you're using, or?
Yeah, we wanted to use a request tracker.
Oh yeah.
It's based on Perl, and you can modify a lot. Yeah,
I just do it by hand. I'm in the same situation as you. I have tickets and ticket systems all over the place, and any kind of automatic integration or syncing is just too difficult to not just get it working, but to keep it working. So any ticket that I need to pay attention to, I just make a link to it by hand in org mode, and I just consider that part of the effort of the ticket.
Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty easy. Okay, yeah, why not do that? Okay.
I mean, I'm not working with hundreds of tickets, right? So
Yeah.
And that way you can also properly do your planning and everything instead of it just appearing in some file.
Right. Yeah, I kind of have this philosophy that you can only really have one list. If you have two lists, then you're going to pay attention to one and not the other. So if you really want to know everything you should be doing right now today, then org mode should be your control, your dashboard.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, request tracker. The website looks like it would be a Perl program. Yeah.
How can you tell from the interface?
Not the interface, but the website.
Okay.
It's so I don't know, 90s or 2000s.
Okay.
It's I don't mean it necessarily as a bad thing. It's a product of its time, very clearly.
Oh, and it has a blog post from 2013. It says he's been using the RT Liberation package. So people are using the command line tools Emacs interfaces for the command line tools to search, browse, and examine tickets. So people are playing around with that.
Liberation. Okay.
Here, I pasted in the link to the blog post I came across.
Ah, nice. Thank you.
Are you committed to this particular bug tracker, or is it something that, has it already been decided you're going to use that one?
Yeah, I mean, we are going to test drive it, put some tickets in, put some, set some email, settings, and if it works, we will take it. Because the cool thing about Request Tracker is you can configure two different Active Directories for to log in, and not many ticket systems have that.
Interesting.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
I was watching a YouTube video with the people from Not Much, and apparently they built their bug tracker using the Not Much email with the Emacs campaign. So I'll give you the link to the thing where you might want to watch that if you want to be purely Emacs. It might be the way to go. But it sounds like you've got the what you want anyway.
No, just post the link. I'm looking into it. Sounds fun.
They talk about it during this YouTube
Ah,
video from the Debian conference, I think it was.
Wow.
yeah, there's. I think somebody built a whole blocking system around Git commits, I believe. So I mean that's maybe a similar uh, abstract kind of usage of a tool.
Wow.
All right, so in about 10 minutes I have to go. So if there's any last questions that we can look at or work through, go ahead and ask them, and else we can wrap up early, or you can stay. I have to work on something else for a while. You don't have to go home, but you can stay here.
So what completion
I am
systems
home.
do people use?
Oh, the eternal question, right? Apparently, the consensus is whatever one you can manage to get working.
Yeah. They seem to be pretty complex. Like getting company to work fully correctly has been an uphill battle.
Company.
Okay, my newbie question. What do you mean by completion systems?
So you're sitting in some code, you type the first 3 letters of a function that you know is there, and you don't want to type the rest.
Okay,
So you
gotcha.
have diabrev, you have hippie expand, company, autocomplete, even I think GNU globals. I think GG tags gives you tags completion. So there's lots of different ways to get that text that you're thinking of at your fingertips. And I just wondered if other people had success with particular systems.
I think I tend to use Debrev most of the time. I mean, hippie expand using Debrev most of the time, but that's because the other ones, like I never actually sit around and wait for the completion dialogues from company mode or autocomplete. I guess it's because I tend to work with smaller code bases.
Do you have the code? Do you have company running? You just always beat it with diabrev?
I think I always get annoyed and I hit escape or just keep moving. But that is definitely a user failure, not a technology failure.
Yeah.
No, it's a speed failure. It's a user experience failure, I would say.
I think it's more that I can't deal with the cognitive load of picking an item from a menu, which is very sad. I know.
Yeah, but that's
But
exactly the point. I mean, it should just display the right thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
maybe actually the semantic type of completion systems where it actually figures out what is available instead of relying on you to type a little bit of it, offered by I think Company and AC autocomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in conjunction with packages like Turn or whatever. I those I can see those as offering a lot of benefit because sometimes I just have no idea what an object offers and what's possible, right? So it's
Yeah.
good for that exploration.
Yeah, but they're always so slow. I mean, wherever I go, these are so slow. It's painful.
Sometimes it's a matter of just configuring the delay variables because they don't want it to pop up all the time. So there's probably some variable you can tweak to say, if I pause for so and so microseconds, then I
Yeah.
want the completion dialog to start showing up.
That's true, but sometimes when you then set the delay to 0, the whole program just kind of freezes up for a second because it's not for 0 milliseconds, and so it has to do work while you're waiting for it, which is unacceptable. But I mean,
Okay.
just from a user experience standpoint, it just impedes the flow of thought so much that it seems to me that it's not really usable. But maybe I'm just easily distracted. Who knows?
Is anyone else here like a completion fan?
I think I'm just using whatever's in Prelude.
Do you like it?
I do. I've been. I like it. Just like I said, I've only been using it for a couple of days now, and it's. I like it better than the 24 starter kit. It seems to be working better for me. I don't know why, but it just is.
Hmm.
I wonder what it uses.
Yeah, I went there as well.
Autocomplete, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's what it says. That makes sense. Okay.
Cool.
All right. So time to try autocomplete again. Thanks for hosting, Phil. I think you're
You're welcome.
about to get going.
Yeah, I have a few more minutes, but I just want to make sure that we don't have too harsh a break. Yeah, as I said, I haven't really kept up with my Emacsing. I just want to make sure that that I can give something back to the community. But I hope next time I have a bit more um, experiences under my belt to talk about and kind of more questions to ask and answer.
We're all figuring this out together, so it's nice to
Yeah,
have that
exactly.
mix of questions and curiosities.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think if let's ask one more time if there's anything we can quickly deal with. Ask it now, and else I think I'm going to wrap this up now.
Okay. Last plug, I guess, for the Emacs conference. At some point, we'll figure out what the live streaming details will be, and I'll post it in all the usual places you heard about this.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll get sorted out someday. Yeah.
That sounds
Yay, Emacs community.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So
I also want to thank you guys for answering all my questions. It's been really helpful. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
no worries. So about the schedule of the Europe Hangout, moving forward, I plan to do one every month if possible. I think I'm just going to announce the next one in about 4 weeks. Well, I mean, in about 4 weeks, which will be the what's the 10th of September, I think. And it should just be every 4 weeks from then on, which means roughly 12 a year.
Yep.
And yeah, I think for me that's it for today. The broadcast of this will be up on YouTube shortly, and the links are going to be on the Google Plus page of Hangouts thingamajig. So, Sasha, will you send? When's going to be the next email with the information?
At some point, but there's some I don't know when, but there will be a mail. I posted a link to the mailing list in case you haven't signed up yet for notifications.
Very
and
good.
I usually remember to post announcements like a day or two before, but you can also find out about upcoming Hangouts on the Google Plus page for Emacs conferences and Hangouts.
Mm-hmm.
So search for that and you'll find it.
Yes, very good. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for contributing and answering all the interesting questions. Yeah, have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night. Day.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.